Welcome to CSN Base. I'm Jay Greenwald.
I'm Matt Sussman.
I'm Jack Silvers.
And I'm Matt Hoffman, and today we have a very special guest. Adam Ottavino of the New York Yankees is here with us. Thank you so much for being on our show. First off, how are you and how is your family holding up lately?
Everybody's good. I think it's obviously a different situation, but we can't complain. Nobody's killed each other yet, so everything's good, and just hoping to, move into a little more normalcy, hopefully sometime soon.
Yeah, we're all looking forward to a little bit of normalcy. Hopefully, some baseball.
Yeah,
Not killing each other is pretty fair baseline for us too.
yeah.
So awesome. We want to start the interview by just asking a couple questions about this irregular offseason, the changes that have happened to the MLB season. So first question we're going to ask is, what are you doing with this extended offseason to stay ready for a potential 2020 season whenever it does start?
Yeah, so I do my workouts 3 days a week in my basement and a little bit outside. And, I communicate with the strength coaches from my team, came up with a good plan based on the, facility I have, the equipment I have. And that's part of it. And the other part of it is obviously throwing. I've been throwing basically 2 out of every 3 days, varying intensity, but trying to keep my volume fairly high so that the only thing I really have to work up if there is a second spring training is just my intensity. So I don't know, just been using the time to stay ready, get a little better. I've been able to throw at some other guys and work on things. So, just trying to make the most of it. It's not ideal. I'd much rather be playing in real games. I mean, I worked hard all off season already, but it never stops. The baseball's kind of a full-time job, even if don't have games.
Yeah, you mentioned a second spring training. How long do you think you and the other players would need to get ready if we come up with a deal, and then how long do you think that we can get back to playing?
I think I have no idea how long we actually need. I mean, probably a couple weeks, 3 weeks minimum, I would think. But it's more so for the pitchers. I mean, the hitters are going to be a little overmatched early on anyway. But I think the pitcher, there's injury concerns. I mean, hopefully guys have been doing what they need to do, and during this time to have a good base layer of fitness and all that. But I think for the pitchers, a big thing is just if we expand the rosters. If we expand the rosters, then nobody's workload should be too bad. And hopefully, as the Yankees, we can kind of utilize our depth and go from there.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on the owner's proposal? How much of the new Players Association deal is up for compromise? What's set in stone from your perspective?
Well, they're not. They didn't make a proposal. They rejected our proposal and are now threatening to implement whatever they want in terms of schedule, which they have the right to do. But we're going to hold the line on our demands, and definitely with our ears open, because we have the ability to expand the playoffs for them, which make them a lot more money, and we can also do some other things for them. But ultimately, if they're not going to negotiate in good faith, then we're just going to let them do whatever they want to do and maintain our position, and hopefully they'll come to their senses and give us at least a half season. We think 50 games is absurd, but we'll see what happens. I mean, ultimately we have the strongest union in sports, and we're gonna flex that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you think for the players, it's definitely at least half a season is the goal to shoot for?
I mean, we just think, it's fairly obvious to baseball fans that you need to get to at least that point for it to have any legitimacy. I mean, if we play 10 games and then we win the playoffs, we're gonna call ourselves champions. But the spirit of baseball is 162. So,
yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, we gotta try to get at least halfway there. I think that's the most fair thing for everybody, for the fans, and just for baseball. So, our goal is to play even more than that. Obviously, that's not going to happen. The owners have already put their foot down on that, and that's up to them. But we're gonna stand strong, and we're ready to go. Every player wants to play, but they're going to implement what they're going to implement, and we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, hopefully they'll come around. So how do you think the lack of fans, the new divisions, scheduling, and other minor changes to the game are going to affect you and the Yankees during the possible 2020 season?
I take our chances against anybody in any circumstance. I mean, we got a great team. Everybody knows that. We're deep. We're dangerous, and we're just a really great team. So we're going to take our chances against anybody. We're not going to let any type of change get in our way of feeling confident and going out there and doing our thing. I do think, a shorter season is going to have different strategies involved and a lot of weird stuff going on for sure. But ultimately, I think, we're going to make the adjustments and not make any excuses.
And we want to know when, or hopefully when, the season does come back. In the meantime, what about baseball have you missed, and the regular baseball season have you missed the most that we wouldn't necessarily expect, whether that be something in the clubhouse or the feeling of going out to pitch on the mound? What have you really missed the most?
I just miss being with the guys every day and, all working together to win the whole thing. I mean, it's a process every year. It takes you about 8 months if you want to do it the whole way. And I felt like last year we really came together and had a good year and didn't finish it off. It was a tough series against the Astros, but I feel like, just the feeling of being with the group and, going through it together, the brotherhood, that's kind of the stuff that matters the most to us. I do think no fans will be weird. I mean, we have the best fans in the game and we love playing at home and all that, but I think that'll be weird, but I mean, it is what it is. And we know that people will be paying attention and watching on TV and rooting on us, from afar. So no matter what, we're going to put our best effort out there.
As a Yankee, your teammates were affected by the Houston Astros scandal and the Red Sox scandal a few years ago. What are your thoughts as a player on the Astros organization's punishments and repercussions, and the Red Sox?
I think my perspective on it has been like, we don't know what happened beyond 17. I mean, I know in 17 they were clearly obviously cheating, and that's obviously shameful. But I also think that MLB is a lot more at fault than a lot of people realize, because they could have done a lot of things to intercept that along the way. And they kind of stood by and trusted people with live video feeds and a lot of different stuff that I feel like a lot of teams were just trying to exploit, an advantage that they had. I don't hold any grudges individually against any guys over there. I do feel like obviously it's weak, but I mean, I don't know what it's like in that clubhouse. I don't know what it's like, to feel like you have the pitch and then you hit a homer or whatever, and it's probably an addicting feeling. For me, it's much more, there should have been a lot more oversight. And I feel bad for our guys that obviously came within one game of getting the World Series in 17. That's a tough pill to swallow. But, the game goes on, and we got to get past that. I mean, ultimately, we have to restore the integrity to baseball and make people care about baseball again, and not have our commissioner call the trophy a piece of metal and that sort of thing.
So do you feel that MLB is cracking down on, the ability to cheat with this video feed and, things that could go wrong in the future?
Well, I mean, we were in negotiations about that during spring training before the season got canceled. I mean, they were going to allow us to use technology, but there's going to be a delay. I mean, it's not hard to stop it. All you have to do is make the feeds in the video room and in the clubhouses on like a 30-second delay, and there's no way you can cheat. And then just have the oversight. They already had a guy in the room the last year and a half, kind of watching over things. So it's hard to say if there was any cheating. I know our team wasn't, and I know most teams weren't last year. It's pretty hard to do it. Not a lot of risk, reward for that risk. So I think that we haven't figured out, what to do. It'd be really hard to cheat at this point, but I think they needed to make the penalties a lot stronger for whoever they could as a further deterrent. Honestly though, like I haven't thought about it in a while because it's kind of been brushed over by the whole coronavirus. And I think for us, like what happened already happened, and we're looking forward to getting back out there and, having our own moment.
So you played 7 seasons with the Rockies at Coors Field and 1 season with the Short Porch at Yankee Stadium. How does your mindset as a pitcher and your approach change with the unique ballparks that you've been pitching in for these your whole
Well,
career?
I mean, Coors Field's a totally different animal than anywhere else you'll ever play. I mean, your pitches don't move the same. The outfield's humongous. It's hard to grip the ball. Um, it's just a tough place to pitch, you know. Yankee Stadium, I mean, yeah, it's tougher for homers, but your pitches still move. Outfield's not as big, so less balls dropping in like bloopers and stuff like that. So I felt like Yankee Stadium was a pleasure to pitch in after pitching in Coors. And Coors is just, it's unprecedented. There's no other field quite like that. So at the end of the day, anything after that is a welcome sight for a pitcher. So, you know, the short porch is never really a concern for me. I mean, obviously there's certain hitters that are good at going that way, and you just try to combat it and not let them, you know, hit to their strength. But, you know, I think, you know, there's always good seasons coming out of Yankee pitchers. Whereas in Colorado, those are a lot harder to come by.
Yeah, so you talked about a little bit about movement. Your slider is one of the nastiest pitches in the game. How did you develop that pitch to make it break so much more than other pitchers in the standard slider?
It's really like a curveball. Like I had a curveball growing up that was like top to bottom, real big.
Mm-hmm.
And when I adjusted my pitch to become like this slider that everybody sees now, it's really not that much of a different concept. Like it's just trying to make it move as much from right to left as possible. And I kind of do it with a little bit of a different spin to the ball than most guys have. It just came natural from throwing curveballs like growing up, and then having a little bit of a lower arm angle. So it really wasn't that hard. But the thing is like most people don't throw with that arm angle or have the ability to like really spin the ball kind of the natural way that I do. So a lot of it was natural, but then there were some adjustments along the way that turned it into somewhat of a unique pitch. And, you know, I think it was AA was the level that I realized that the up and down curveball wasn't as effective for me. Like the hitters were picking it up really well out of my hand. So that's when I talked to some hitters and made the adjustment of kind of trying to keep it on a flat plane and just bend it left. And, you know, it took a little practice, but luckily it really wasn't that far off from the process of throwing the curveball. It was just slight adjustment on arm angle and, you know, hand positioning.
So you've been on a constant trajectory of improvement for 2 consecutive seasons. Is there something you changed after 2017, or was this just how your career developed? Because, you know, you had a huge jump in the past 2 seasons.
Well, I was pretty good before that bad year I had in 17. I had Tommy John in there in the middle, but during the 2 years that was interrupted by Tommy John, I had like a cumulative below 2 ERA, and then the year before that, so I was pretty good. But I feel like the year that I got beat up and did bad, that was like a chance for me to kind of reset my brain and figure out, you know, what adjustments I need to make. Like if you watch all the great pitchers in their careers, the ones that have longevity, there are several different pitchers in their career. So for me, I had to reconfigure my delivery, reconfigure what pitches I want to throw and which count. I leaned more heavily on my breaking ball than ever before, like when I was in an even or behind in the count. And I used my fastball more as a put-away pitch, which really was huge for me in the beginning of 18. I saw it working, so I just stuck with it. And I still do that to this day. And then the other thing was I just continued to work to add more pitches, like have a cutter. I'm continuing to add behind the scenes right now, but I was able to go from a 2-pitch guy to a 3-pitch guy. I feel like that made a big difference out of the pen. I was a lot less predictable, and I was able to get myself in a 2-strike count more consistently, which is obviously beneficial.
Yeah.
Yeah, and kind of related to that cycle of improvements, we read that earlier this year you were working to get rid of your normal glove tap going into the spring. So is that kind of an example of kind of small improvements you would look to make, and have you continued trying to do that when you've been working out this off season?
Yeah. So if you look at, like, if you're looking for weaknesses in my game, I mean, I think walks. I have too many walks the last 2 years, and I definitely allowed too many stolen bases. So the idea of taking away the glove tap was really to combat the stolen bases. I don't feel like I have poor control. I just feel like I'm very careful out there a lot, given the situation I'm in. So I don't really want to mess with my command too much. But with a man on first, I need to figure out a way to not initiate my delivery with my hands, because that's costing me tenths of a second, which allows the guy to get a better jump. So this year in spring, I was operating with no glove tap all the time. Now in the quarantine, I'm back doing my glove tap because I feel a lot more powerful with it, and I don't want to lose that. But with a man on first, I've come up with a way to not do it, and I think that's going to help me limit the stolen bases. So it's just a little thing when you pitch late in the game in a lot of tie games or one-run games. You can't allow an average speed player to steal second. Like, it's one thing if he's one of the fast guys, like, okay, but you can't allow an average guy to just get there, because then they're one hit away from scoring a run. And that's something that has bugged me the last few years. That was a habit I couldn't break, so I've been trying to break it, and I feel like I'm in a good spot with that.
Yeah. Who's the toughest batter you faced in the MLB and why?
I think lately the answer I've been giving, it changes a lot. You know, guys change throughout the years, but I think lately the guy I've been saying is Christian Yelich. You know, it's a combination of he's left-handed, which makes it a little tougher for me with my breaking ball. He has a really good eye, doesn't chase, and he doesn't really have a zone that's a full weakness. So with him, you're kind of trying to make really fast calculations in your head of what pitch he's looking for and how to combat that within the at-bat. But he does a good job of staying balanced and kind of spoiling your good pitches, and then you know, barreling your mistakes. So that's the guy I would say right now.
Why do you wear the number 0, and how does it feel to be the first ever Yankee? I know you grew up a Yankees fan, and their rich history, hundreds of years. How does it feel to be the first ever Yankee to wear it in their history?
Yeah, I mean, it's weird. I mean, I never thought it would happen. Even when I signed with the Yankees, I just didn't assume they were going to give me number 0. So they did, and I'm grateful for that. It's something that I'm comfortable with. I wore it most of my life. But you know, I've never looked at it as like extra pressure. I mean, you know, there was plenty of guys that wore the single digits before the guys that ended up being retired numbers. So, you know, if I'm great, and if I'm not, that's fine too. I just feel like it's a comfortable number for me, and I just want to be myself out there.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being on our show. We really appreciate having you. We're looking forward to hopefully watching baseball this season. We love seeing you perform, and we wish you luck in the future.
I hope so, man. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.